Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and of course, special welcome to Minister Farrakhan, his sons. I met his two sons yesterday, and a number of members of your delegation, including Chief of Staff, of course. And we'd just like to, on behalf of the wardens, the directors, and of course our entire congregation, to welcome you into our synagogue at this little meeting. I must express a little bit of surprise when I heard that you had an interest in coming here, having regard for the things that we have heard coming from places, different places, about some anti-Semitic, and it surprised me a little. But subsequently to having received your request to come, we did meet with the delegation, your delegation, and we had a very, very interesting, very cordial meeting. A number of subjects were discussed, and I think that some of them encompass some of the questions that we would like to ask you today. And I know that Ainsley, or previous president, past president of the synagogue, and as I mentioned before, for his sins, and I don't know how many he has, but he is also the consul general to Israel in Jamaica. So without further ado, I'm going to turn things over to Ainsley a bit. Pardon?
Could you just introduce the congregants?
The congregants?
Our congregants.
Oh, yes, of course. You met David Enriquez before, so at the door, and Wallace Campbell. David is our vice president, Wallace the treasurer. Stephen, of course, you just met. He's also director, but acting spiritual leader. To the left over there is David Matalan, Michael Matalan. We have, where is, right, so Lloyd Albergo, one of the oldest members of our congregation, director, and of course our cantor, Mr. Dr. Winty Davidson. With that, Ainsley, I think it would be appropriate if I just turn things over to you to say a few words, which I think is going to encompass some questions, and after which I'm sure Minister Farrakhan would like to say a few words and perhaps respond to some of the questions that we might have for him. Thank you.
Thank you, President of the Congregation, Shaare, Shalom, Anthony Lindo. Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, National Representative of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and leader of the Nation of Islam, we welcome you. Distinguished members of the Nation of Islam, we welcome you. Wardens and fellow directors of Congregation Shaare Shalom, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
May the peace of the Sabbath be with you. Louder. Let me add my words of welcome to you, Honorable Minister Farrakhan, and to the members of the Nation of Islam who have attended service with us on this our Sabbath and in our synagogue in Kingston, Jamaica. History is what the vast majority of people have recited to them or is read by them from texts of historians. To be present when history is being made is a rare privilege, and one that all who are so privileged should cherish. Today is one such day, and this morning is one such morning. It is an historical occasion to have you, Minister Farrakhan, worship in our synagogue with us. The rabbis tell us that the Bible is truth. It is the word of the Lord. But that the interpretations of the Bible are the meat of the religion, of the belief system and its rituals. The rabbis go on to interpret the meaning of each passage. But where two or more rabbis are gathered, they are certain to disagree on the interpretations with the famous rabbinical prefix, and I quote, "but on the other hand." Minister Farrakhan, as Jews, we greet you in the certitude that this is your first ever visit to worship in a synagogue. But on the other hand, as Jamaicans, we welcome you to the land of one of your ancestors.
Thank you.
One of your ancestral homes was not far away from this place, this synagogue, where we have worshipped this morning. Welcome home.
Thank you.
Jamaica and its people have a rich, colorful, interesting, and historic quincentennial past in recorded history. We can rightly claim to be today a people emanating from many ethnicities. More significantly, we can truly say that we have a rich, plural cultural origin. Out of many cultures, one culture. And yes, we do now all enjoy the same foods and music, and believe it or not, dress and express ourselves with great similarity. What is even further remarkable is that as a nation we enjoy one of, if not, the richest diversity of beliefs in God. Each of our various religions believe through a variety of separate rituals, and these all lead us to the same monotheism. The word enjoy is in itself not a true reflection of the realities. It does not reflect on the tolerance that exists in Jamaica. Yes, we take this remarkable tolerance for granted, but it wells up from the deep-seated experiences of our multicultural past. So may I again, on behalf of this tolerance, greet the Nation of Islam who have worshipped with us in this synagogue this morning with respect.
Thank you.
Honorable Minister, you have been an example to the Muslim faith, and through the Nation of Islam have reached out to a congregation and to an audience far greater than those who believe through Muhammad. Your words have been publicized widely. In this context, you have been seen by reports to be controversial. There are 3 issues that we would appreciate your commentary on, and by your invitation, I make no apology for raising them. Rather, applaud you for allowing us to raise them with you, those that we will.
Thank you.
In a few days, we will be celebrating the festival of the Passover, the celebration by Jewish believers of the emancipation from enslavement. The first issue we wish to address is that it is reported that you have blamed the Jewish people for being responsible for the enslavement of people for the slave trade. I have chosen my words carefully, as people are never slaves, but are enslaved. It is an act perpetrated on those who become used in this way. Enslavement is an abomination. This is a hurt that needs your answer. The second issue is that it is reported that you have made statements that are interpreted as being anti-Semitic. Anti-Semitic itself is an unfortunate word, so perhaps may I redefine the issue as statements that are anti-Jewish. This is a charge that in our varied religious environment of Jamaica, we look forward to your response. The third issue, Minister, is that whilst we in Jamaica have proven by our example that race, culture, and religion can both intermingle and coexist, my question is, how can we together leave this historic occasion in a way that helps Muslims and Jews to understand the symbolism that we have created here this morning? That Muslims and Jews can worship in the same place, at the same time, sitting and standing shoulder to shoulder. Do you have a message for the brotherhood of man and the sisterhood of woman that we can share as we leave this place together? Minister Farrakhan, these issues are important to us. You have welcomed us to raise them with you, and through you with the nation of Islam. It is our fervent wish that from today there will be a new beginning in the perceived and real relationships between Jews and Muslims as initiated by this historic visit of the nation of Islam to the congregation Shaare Shalom. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. Thank you. May I? In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, we give Him praise and thanks for His goodness and His mercy to the human family, and that mercy has always been shown by His sending into the world prophets and messengers to bring us closer to Him by granting us a greater knowledge of His universe and a greater knowledge of Himself, and correcting us in those things that are displeasing to Him, that we might come again into His divine favor. So we are thankful to Allah for Moses and the Torah. We are thankful to Allah for Jesus and the Gospel. We are thankful to Allah for Muhammad and the Quran. Peace be upon these worthy servants of Allah. I am a student of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and I could never thank Allah enough for His intervention in our affairs, raising up among us one to lead, teach, and guide us back to the straight path of God. I greet all of you with the greeting words of peace in Hebrew, Shalom, and in Arabic, Assalamu alaikum.
Salam alaikum.
Let me first say on behalf of all of us, our gratitude to Brother Ali, Ambassador of Peace, for taking our desire and bringing it to this congregation for your acceptance. I am eternally grateful, and we are, that you have accepted our desire to worship with you this morning. Believe it or not, for nearly 18 years, we have tried to resolve any conflict between us and the Jewish community in America, starting from the Jesse Jackson campaign. We contacted the head of the Anti-Defamation League in New York, a Mr. Nathan Perlmutter, who was out of the city. I think he was in Rome at the time, and we wanted to sit with him. This was back in 1984. Mr. Perlmutter came back after agreeing to meet with us. He sent me a letter saying that unfortunately, until the level of our discourse had calmed down, he would not agree to meet with me. I wrote him a letter saying it is sad that as people of knowledge we have allowed the media to keep us from meeting with each other to discuss any points of variance. And from that day to this, we have met quietly with certain members of the Jewish faith in New York, in my home in Chicago, in Los Angeles, but never have we had the privilege of coming to a synagogue. I met in my home with a Rabbi Marks and a Rabbi Shalman, who was the former dean of the rabbis in Chicago. And when they came to my home and we had dinner together, Rabbi Shalman asked me if I would be willing to speak before the Board of Rabbis. I said, tomorrow, if you could arrange it. And Rabbi Marx asked me if I would come to the synagogue. I said, tonight, if you could arrange it. We invited the rabbis to the dedication of our new headquarters in Chicago in 1988. And they wrote me a letter saying, unfortunately, they could not come because they thought it would send the wrong signal. So Jamaica, the land of my father, has afforded me an opportunity that has eluded me in the United States for nearly 18 years. This is not a new desire on my part and on our part. This is an old desire, for ever since the controversy began, it was my desire and our desire to resolve this conflict. I remember I was invited to the Ted Koppel show on ABC to meet with the Jewish leaders. I said, no, I will not come on television and argue with Jewish leaders, for television is for entertainment. This to me is too serious. Let us go behind closed doors and iron out our difficulty, then come before television and say to the world that we have ironed out our difficulty, and from this day forward we will work together for the common good. Unfortunately, that did not happen. Here we are in beloved Jamaica. I have come to my father's home. My mother told me that my father was a man named Percival Clark, a man that I never really knew, but that his father was a teacher and that the lineage came from Portugal. I thought to myself, if the lineage of my father was from Portugal, then my father was probably, my father's ancestors were among those Jews who fled the Iberian Peninsula during the Inquisition and found a home here in the Caribbean. And even though they owned slaves, they were kind to those slaves and had relations with the women of those slaves and produced children from those slaves. And I believe I am one of those descendants who have in my genetic coding the coding of the Jewish people. When I was a little boy in Boston, Massachusetts, on Saturday morning, my mother would turn on the radio and I would hear the organist E. Power Biggs play from the Christian church, but then the Jewish cantor would come on. And as I listened to the cantor, I was attracted to the beauty of his voice, though I knew not what he was saying. It was only later that I learned that he was chanting the Torah. At 5 years of age, my mother gave me the violin. I had a natural passion for this instrument. It must be a part of my Jewish heritage. For as I came up, all of my heroes in the violin were Russian Jews, the greatest of them, Mr. Yasha Heifetz, to me. And so I never, ever had a problem with the Jewish people. as a young boy growing up in Boston, Massachusetts, I went to the oldest public school in North America called Boston Public Latin School, established in 1635, 1 year before Harvard University was established. It was a very racist situation, and in my classroom there was a young Jewish boy who was usually attacked by some of the other whites of other European extraction. I felt it my need to defend that young man because he was a very peaceful boy that did not like to fight, so I fought for him. I did not stay in that school too long. I went to complete my high school education at Boston English High School. And seated behind me in my sophomore year was a young Jewish boy, one of the most handsome young men that I've had the privilege of knowing. But it was 1948, and he told me he was going to Israel to fight for the new state. I didn't understand why this young man would leave the United States and go to fight for the state of Israel. It was many, many years before I would come to understand the sacrifice that that young man made. Now here we are in beloved Jamaica. Jamaica that has given me an opportunity to come and sit with members of the Jewish tradition, children of Abraham, the elder children of Abraham. As a Muslim and one who grew up in an Anglican background, who loved Jesus and loved the church, I found something missing. And so I started looking for that which would speak against the oppression of black people. And I ran into some of my friends who had converted to Islam, and they brought me to a convention where I heard Elijah Muhammad, and then later heard Malcolm X. And even though I was not necessarily desirous of leaving Christianity or embarking on a new religious course, I wanted to see black people free. And my church was not addressing that concern, so I became a follower of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. Now I will quickly say to you what I believe and then answer the three questions, my dear brother, that you raised. First, we believe that we are following in the footsteps of the Jewish tradition, because as you, according to Scripture, suffered 400 years in Egypt until the intervention of Jehovah, and until he raised up for you Musa or Moses to lead you out of that land into the wilderness and then into a land promised to you through Abraham. We believe that when our fathers were brought out of Africa into the slave trade and brought on a westerly journey to the Caribbean, to Central and South America, and then to America, where the worst form of slavery was practiced on black people, a people deprived of our names, our language, our culture, our religion, and our history, and made chattel slaves for 310 years, where we were sold and bought as you buy merchandise, dehumanized, not allowed to read the Bible or to learn how to read. and many whites that tried to teach us how to read were persecuted for bringing some degree of enlightenment to the slaves. We believe that God said in Deuteronomy, I will raise them up from their brethren, one like unto thee, Moses, and he will teach them all that I shall command him. So not only was Moses to fulfill what God had given him for Israel, but one like unto Moses was to come to a people who would be in a similar condition. No one can deny that we, the black people of America, have been in a similar condition as your fathers were in Egypt. And America has been for us Misra, a land of bondage. But I thank Almighty God, Allah, for his mercy toward us. For the close of the Old Testament closes with a book called Malachi, meaning my messenger. And you probably next week, during your Passover and your Seder, will keep a place for Elijah. You will open your door and you will pour a glass of wine for Elijah, because when Elijah comes, that is the sign that the Messiah for whom you await is on his way. We believe, as the scripture teaches, before that great and dreadful day of the Lord, I will send you Elijah. And Elijah the prophet will turn the hearts of the children to their fathers and their fathers' hearts back to the children, lest we come, or I come, God says, and smite the earth with a curse. We believe that Elijah was raised from among us, a man like unto Moses, who came to us in the stench of slavery and cleaned us up, reformed us and transformed our lives and made us whole and wholesome. Inside America, we were persecuted. We were sent to prison for our faith. We were killed for our faith, but we stayed true to that course. And in 1975, when Elijah Muhammad departed from among us, his son, Imam Warithuddin Muhammad, became the leader of the Nation of Islam and took the Nation of Islam into what is called the Orthodox world of Islam. But I felt, as a son of Elijah, that our people needed the message of Elijah that would transform their lives, not out of hatred for Imam Warithuddin, but out of a love for Elijah Muhammad and a love for our people who still suffer to this day in North America. I decided to rebuild the work of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. Unfortunately, I came to the side of the Reverend Jesse Jackson as he wanted to become the nominee of the Democratic Party for the presidency of the United States of America. And during that time, some of the Jewish people felt that Jesse Jackson and his quest for the presidency would upset the balance in black people who leaned more toward the Israelis than toward the Palestinians. And so, feeling that Jesse Jackson, who had embraced Yasser Arafat and had made the statement that Judaism is a rose and Zionism is a weed that is choking the rose, Jesse Jackson then was looked upon as an anti-Semite. And so when I came by his side and I saw the media creating an atmosphere into which Jesse Jackson might have been assassinated, I spoke to Jewish leaders from my heart asking them to be careful how they handled Reverend Jackson, because 90% of the black people in America were with him, and this would not bode well for black-Jewish relationships. The following Sunday, I was called in New York City by a certain rabbi a new black Hitler. Those words stung me, for never in my life have I ever wanted to see done to Jewish people what Hitler did to the Jews in Europe. That has never been in my heart, not then, not now. I am called an anti-Semite. I am called a hater. But if you look at those who follow me, you do not have one record of one of my followers doing one thing against a member of the Jewish faith, a member of the white community, or the black community. So if I am such a hater, why don't my followers demonstrate that hate? We have never picketed one Jewish establishment because we have always related well to the Jewish people. So in answer to your question, when some of the Jewish leaders attacked me, some of my followers went to the library to study from Jewish scholars their own writing on the slave trade. Yes. And it was not we who said this, it was Jewish scholars that didn't say that the Jews were the architect of the slave trade. They said that 75% of the Jews in the South had slaves. And when many of the Jews came out of Europe to the Caribbean, to the West Indies, some of them also became slave masters, slave owners, and then intermixed their blood into our women. Thus, we came forth lighter in complexion and looking different from the way we looked in Africa. Well, did you say that it was only Jews? No. I said Arabs, Jews, Africans, Europeans were a part of the degradation of those of us who were brought out of Africa, and those who were a part of our degradation should be a part of our resurrection. And so here we are in Jamaica. I enjoyed the service this morning. I enjoyed the cantor. I enjoyed the prayers. I enjoyed the sermon. There was nothing that I heard with which I could disagree or would disagree. I felt greatly honored to be in this place, in your midst, to worship with you. My hope is that we would send a signal to the world from blessed Jamaica that the Jews in America, many of them, I hope, will be inspired by what you took the courage to do. It took courage to bring me here. It took courage to open your hearts to receive me. And I pray that there will be no backlash to what you have done. In fact, we discussed it this morning, and we felt that the leadership of Jamaica should applaud openly what you have done, so that when the word goes forth to the United States and to Europe and to wherever Jews may be on this earth, that they will say, they took a bold step. Now let's take one in the United States as well. Because if we can mend and heal the wounds between our two communities, I can say that there's a possibility that we will be able to heal the wounds in Palestine and in Israel today. It is my hope and my prayer that yes, from this place, from this holy place, a new beginning can emerge. There was one other question that you raised that I may not have answered. I hope that in my discourse with you, I spoke to you from my heart, to your hearts. In closing, I want you to know, Rabbi, and to the members of this congregation, what you have come through in your sojourn from the time of the loss of your independence 2,000 years ago, from your wandering and your persecution in many countries into which you have gone. May I say to you that God has blown you like seeds in the wind to all of the various countries of the earth, and wherever you have gone, a tree has grown from the Jews who suffered and came to that land. Because God has favored you with prophet after prophet, with scripture after scripture, no sane person could deny that you are beloved of God. However, what I saw today when you went to the ark and opened and removed the ark, which carries within it the Torah, the Pentateuch, the 5 books of Moses, and you recited those words. These words make you a Jew only if you strive to live up to those words. For I said last night in a speech, I too am a Jew, I am a Christian, and I am a Muslim. Either I know what I'm talking about, or I am greatly confused. I don't think I am confused, for I do not see Ashkenazi, Sephardim, or Ethiopian Jews as something different. I see a Jew as a state of being, not a color, not a race, but a state of existence in a covenant relationship with God, a special covenant relationship with God based upon obedience to the laws, statutes, and commandments of God. And if you obey those commandments, then the Messiah, there's something you have to do, that the Messiah will come again to you and lead you to that land that you were promised. Now the state of Israel exists, and it has not had peace for 50 years. I say this knowing that my words will be recorded. As a Muslim, I believe that nothing happens except by the active or the permissive will of God. Yes. God permitted Theodore Herzl and those with him and the United Nations to give you a land. God also allowed the Arab nations around you to oppose you because they feel that you have deprived them of land that belongs to them, and you feel that God has given you that land as your inheritance, that it belongs to you by divine right. So here are these two thoughts. One thinking you have taken the land from them, and others thinking that God has indeed bequeathed this land to you. What is the answer that we can find peace? What the Jews have done to the desert, you have made the desert bloom. You took land that was there, that was not developed, and you developed that land and dotted it with cities and towns and villages. The Native Americans can claim that the North America was taken from them, but in truth, there is a law of use. And if you have something and you do not use it, then God will give it to someone else who will make use of it. So the whites from Europe came to North America, and of course they brought our fathers there. But everyone that came made a contribution, and now north of us is one of the greatest manifestations of human knowledge, science, technology. However, on the other hand, she needs moral strength and guidance. You must not let Judaism die on this island. What you represent must be carried to the people. I know what God has commanded of you, that you should marry within your people to keep Judaism alive. But there's a cry among Jews that the faith is dying, the numbers are decreasing. We who are here this morning are elders who will soon pass away. Where are the young Jewish men and women who will uphold a tradition that is over 300 years on this island, who has given much to this island? We must not let this tradition be swallowed up in that which may not be as rich as what you have. In fact, what you have that God has given you, now it is desired of you that you share it and use it to cleanse this island, to raise this island as Moses raised you, and make the people of this island reflect as God made you to reflect through Moses and the prophets that he sent to you. In closing, my hope is that we who desire to raise our people up from the condition that slavery put them in, which the blacks of Jamaica still suffer, with all our Christianity, all our Islam, all our Judaism, all of our religion, the masses of our people still suffer from the stench of our slave and colonial past. And we need to be healed of that. And who can heal us better than those whom God healed through the mouth of his prophets? So I think we have to forge an alliance for progress, an alliance building bridges of divine understanding that will raise the people of Jamaica to new heights. And I pray that what was done here today, that it will resonate all over the earth, and that Jews in the United States will give me a chance to come to the synagogue and worship and speak, so that I may let you know from my heart that I harbor no evil or no ill will toward the Jewish community. I offer you my hand in brotherhood. I offer you my hand for progress. I offer you my hand for the resurrection of humanity. And I want to encourage you and challenge you to take the words, the sacred words of the Torah, and make them live in Jamaica. Let us not let our religion degenerate into mere ritual, like we do in Islam, like others do in Christianity, like I participated in today, beautiful rituals, but in those rituals is dynamic truth to reform and transform not only human beings in the synagogue, but to transform human life all over this planet. And I believe that is why God has allowed you to suffer and allowed us to suffer, so that through our suffering we could be purified. And in that purification, God may come again to us and give us the great redemptive duty of redeeming the whole of humanity and bringing them back to the worship, the pure worship of the oneness of God. Thank you so much for the honor and the privilege of being with you and allowing me the privilege of sharing words from my heart to you.
How is your time?
I'm with you for a few more minutes.
Okay.
For questions.
Do you mind?
No.
Well, if one of the directors or two of them might want to ask a question. I just mentioned to Minister Farrakhan that one or two of our directors may have a question or two. If you do, he's quite happy in answering any questions that you might have.
I would be honored.
First of all, I would like to say something.
Yes, sir.
No. Excuse me, sir. Brother. It's the directors.
Yeah, the Jewish community.
Please, first.
But he's a member. He's a member of the community.
He's not a member.
Oh, he's a Muslim. Oh, I'm sorry. Well, would you wait for your question until after they, and then I will respond to your question. Thank you.
The directors. Tony, control it, because if not, Mude will get up.
Pardon?
Just control it. Tony, if not, Mude will get up. No, I said just keep it to the directors.
Yeah. I think, like me, Minister Farrakhan, you have left all of us a little speechless. When in Jamaica, in particular, you find Jews here who have lost their voice, it is very significant. Because when we have our board meetings, we have about 12 members present, and we have 30 opinions. So it's very, very significant today that I can't find any of them coming with any further questions from what Ainsley had asked.
I would have one question.
Well, Stephen, you're my boss, you know.
I have only one thing to say. I've heard the words. In our religion, we believe that words without action mean nothing. Right? And I ask that if the words that you have said are genuine, I accept them as such, that we see the action.
What action would you like to see from me?
Not action in that needs to be done, but that what you have said to us is what we truly believe, and that we don't get a different feedback when we hear this in the United States.
Now, I must respond to you, my dear Rabbi, please. You know, I have sat with Jewish leaders, this is true, and we have gotten along very, very well. In fact, when I was interviewed by Barbara Walters, at the end of our 1 hour and a half interview, Rabbi, I said, Ms. Walters, I allowed this interview with you, number one, because you have interviewed people all over the world, and I'm sure you know a phony when you see them and when you hear them. Number two, I invited you here because you are a female and exceedingly sensitive. And third, and most important, I invited you because I know that you're Jewish And I want to ask you if you would help me to build bridges to the Jewish community. Miss Walters got on the phone right after our talk, and she called Mr. Donaldson of ABC, Sam Donaldson, and she said, Sam, he answered every question that I asked him. He ducked none. When she left me, she sent me a note some 3 weeks later that she could not arrange any meeting for me with members of the Jewish community. But I also did an interview with CBS with Mike Wallace, and I asked the same of Mike Wallace, and Mike Wallace, through one of our brothers, arranged for me to meet with Mr. Edgar Bronfman in his apartment in Manhattan. We had a wonderful talk. The next day I spoke in Brooklyn, and I spoke of the suffering of the Iraqi people. And I said that it was similar, in my judgment, to the Holocaust. This was taken as an offense, that after we had this good rapport, I went to Brooklyn and said these things that angered the Jewish community. And what I submit to you, Rabbi, is that there's a Rabbi Hager in New York City, an Orthodox Jew, who has offered me help in helping me to understand the Jewish psyche. Because as I speak to black people all over the world, they have no problem understanding me. But words may be well intended, but in the cultural and historical development of a people, those words may be offensive. I do not desire to offend. I want to be better at saying what I say. So I can tell you that the action that I will take on leaving here is to encourage the action that you all took to invite me here, that dialogue may begin so that reconciliation can follow that dialogue. And I pledge to you, in front of my own followers and yours, that the action that I shall endeavor to take is one of truth and justice and righteousness, which is what I heard you say today in words from the Torah. I expect what you expect: truth, justice, and righteousness in our dealings with each other and in our dealings with whomever we have dealings with. May God bless us. Thank you.
I don't think you could have been straighter. I think Michael, one of our directors,
yes,
and also a lay preacher, would like to ask a question or make a comment.
To comment, sir.
Yes.
It is certainly an honor to have you here. We have both taken bold steps here this morning. And I guess in Jamaica's tradition, out of many one people, where we have all different backgrounds, black, white, yellow, Indian. We've always lived in Jamaica in peace, in progress, and we have certainly been in the struggle together. I think that the misconceptions that Jews have about Muslims and Muslims have about Jews, I think we have both taken a very bold step here this morning to try to settle a lot of that misconception. The only thing I would like to say is that things like hate, anti-Semitism, murder, things of those, we are all born as children, pure and clean. It is only the adults who have raised us who have corrupted us. It is now people like us to try and go forth to fight the battle, to settle the negative, the hatred, all of the things that the mindset has been built up over the years. So So I would say to you, on both sides of the coin, we have a hell of a battle and a hell of a struggle to take.
But the victory is already given by God. We will win this struggle.
Absolutely. Your words are strong. And certainly in your heart, I believe you speak from your heart. Because I can see it in your eyes.
Thank you.
And for you to be here this morning and to worship with us, for us to be here, I think the bold steps that we've taken here today are historic, of epic proportion.
Thank you. Mr. Matalon, may I say in response that your name and your family name, and that that name has meant much to this island and to this community. And I would pray that the Matalon that is going through heart transplant or heart bypass, quadruple bypass, that together from this place we have a united front to build Jamaica spiritually, to try to end poverty and disease among the weak and the ignorant. That is our battle. And if we join our hands in that struggle, God has already declared the victory is ours. May God bless us to do it in our lifetime so that we can pass on to these children a better Jamaica than the Jamaica that we found. Shabbat Shalom. Thank you.
Tony,
Well,
you have Mendel.
Minister, pardon?
You have two more, or you want to take
No,
cut it off?
the directors.
Or directly? If Mendel wants to ask a question. Mendel.
We're limited to the directors who decided that, so we'll continue with that. Minister Farrakhan,
Yes, sir.
I would just like to thank you very much for the forthrightness in which you have answered our questions. And I feel that we will leave here today with a feeling of unity and a hope for mutual trust between the Jews of Jamaica, the Jews everywhere in the world, and the people of Islam.
Thank you.
I look forward to what my very good friend terms as a new beginning. And I really hope, it is my fervent hope, that together we can go forward from this forum and make the world understand what your feelings are, what our feelings are, and the part that we would like to assist in playing in making the world a peaceful place for us all to live in.
Thank you very much.
I would like to, on behalf of the congregation, to present you with a copy of our prayer book, which I know you read from today. I hope you will read it with interest. It has a fair amount of history
I read it.
regarding our community in Jamaica.
Yes.
And we look forward to meeting you again sometime in the future. I thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
I know that Ainsley also has a presentation to make to you, and we'll ask him to do so now.
Mr. Farrakhan, on behalf of the Jewish community of Jamaica, those who still practice Judaism and those who have Jewish ancestry in their lineage, this is a very important document. It's called The Portuguese Jews of Jamaica. It's the history of a mere 347 years of our life in this island.
Thank you. Thank you so very much.
And as a personal gift in honor of your visit here and your spirituality, this is a collection of icons, prose and poetry, which I think you will find as a spiritual revelation.
Thank you so very much.
He's being very modest, Reverend. It was written by his daughter.
On behalf of all of the Muslims, on behalf of Brother Ali and our local minister Andrew Muhammad and our regional minister Brother Rasul Muhammad, I want to present to you the Holy Quran translation by Abdullah Yusuf Ali for your library.
Thank you very much. We will certainly,
May I sign it for you?
with pleasure, we'd love you to do so. I thank you very much again, sir. And would you do us the honor of just reading the inscription for the benefit of those that are present?
It says, and the date is
23rd of March.
the 23rd, the 3rd month, 2nd year. It says, to this wonderful synagogue that allowed me the privilege of entering and worshiping, may Allah increase us in wisdom and strength to fulfill His will. Peace and love, Louis Farrakhan.
Thank you very much again. I really look forward to meeting with you again. I hope the rest of your stay in Jamaica will be...
My late friend would appreciate those words. I know his daughter-in-law played with us.
Yes.